Hey everyone, Sakurayasin here, and in this episode of Creating Kei, I'm going to be talking about character design and specifically character consistency. So, being able to draw your character over and over and have it look like the same character, no matter what the view is. So, I think there are two main things concerning character consistency that you have to pay attention to. One is proportions. So just making sure your character has the same proportions. So let's say this is like a generic head where the eyes are halfway from the top to the bottom. Let's say your character had their eyes a bit lower than that, maybe here. Just making sure every time you draw them, the eyes are lower will make it so that character is consistent. The other thing is characteristics. So let's say you have a character with like a triangle head and another character with like a box head. Okay, if these are the two characters in your world and that was it, and you draw this character like this and you draw this character like this, even if you kind of drew this character like this where the eyes are much higher here and here they're lower, if these are the only two characters, because they're so different from each other, it'll still look fine. Like maybe this one's eyes are up there, it's still gonna read as this one is this one and this one is this one. They're the same character. So the more you have specific characteristics, the less proportions are a big deal. You can kind of get away with them. I mean, ideally you would want it so the proportions stick as well, but you can play a lot more with proportions if your characteristics are very strong. And if your characteristics aren't very strong, so like everyone kind of is sort of the same, then you need to pay way more attention to things like the character's proportions. So personally, I like to have a lot of character, and then I try to keep the proportions the same as well. So this leads to pretty recognizable characters that don't look like each other. So for instance, here's Kei. So Kei is very clear in her silhouette because she's got this big hair, right? So no one else has that hair except Kei. So if I just draw, even something like that, even if it's not perfect, it's going to be recognizable who that is. It's like, oh, it's this one because she's the one with that big triangular hair. So including those types of things can really help, and also her head shape is kind of like this triangular shape. And then from the side, it does something like that. So it's, again, very triangular, very recognizable. So that's Kei. And then I'll just walk through some of the other characters and their characteristics. So Arsha, she's very boxy. But then she's got this like diamond cape. So she's kind of, I would say, mostly squares, but then with diamond hair, like a big diamond, and then a cape that's a big diamond. So these are repeated elements that give you the feeling of the character. So even if you just glanced at a silhouette really quickly, you can say, okay, that's the character. So if you're designing a character and you can kind of build them on these basic shapes, like in this case squares and diamonds, and in a way a diamond is just a rotated square, right? So that makes things much easier. here's Lucy. So Lucy is also boxy, but she's a lot more circular as well. So she's got like a circle like head or oval, and then this hair. It's kind of made up of like oval, oval, and then this is like an oval that's cut. That goes like that. And then again, it's boxy, but it's very oval. So oval upper torso, hips, and then going down. So that's kind of her defining, and even her shoulders are very sloped. That's her defining thing. So, and then she has antenna. So because their uniforms are fairly similar, it really matters how you do the bigger shape. So you immediately get a read of this character. So with Nart, he's much more triangular. He's got this big like V for the body, and then his legs kind of more like that, and then his head is basically a lot of triangles, and triangles signify, you know, coolness. So he's like, in a way, he thinks he's cooler, or something more aggressive maybe. So he's not built on tons of ovals as much as just sharp shapes. And here's Mub. So here's another square guy. So he's very square, but he's also got a bit of a, you know, like a taper to him like that. So he's heavy on the top and short on the bottom. So his legs are pretty short, but then he's got this huge upper body, and then he kind of has this the chef's hat, and then of course he's got these like tentacles, which are very defining features that come out, and then his beak and the tentacles have patterns on them which kind of look like eyes. So you almost read a face from his beak and his tentacle pieces that look like eyes. This is Brog. He's basically like circles. He's got a circle head, then he's got this trunk, then he's got circle shoulder pads, very small body, very circular, big pants, and then these like ballooned shoes. So very round, and then also straight. So his arms are very skinny, his neck is skinny, and then he's got this trunk. So I would say he's made up of like this shape and this shape, circles or spheres and cylinders. And Toby is very vertical, but he has a broom with him, and you can see the broom's shape is kind of like that, but he also has a beard that's also kind of like that. So again, repeated shapes. This guy would be cylinders, or like a ruler, rectangle, and then this kind of shape. So even his pants kind of flare out, this kind of flared out, even his sleeves, and his arms are pretty straight. He's only got one eye, but yeah, that's kind of the shape I think of with him. So again, pretty simple. It's not like there's 100 shapes here. You could be anal and say, you know, well, his mustache has like that shape, and it's like, yeah, but those are kind of subforms. The bigger forms are pretty much like a rectangle and then this triangle, if you want to simplify it that way. And with Karen, she's kind of diamond-like as well, but Arsha's diamond-like in this way, like very big, and then built off a square that way, whereas Karen is much more tall and elongated. But yeah, it's still rectangles and diamonds. for this character. So the best way, I think, to achieve character consistency after you've got the proportions and the shapes is pretty much just mileage. So what I would recommend is to figure out what your shape language is if you haven't already, and how do you like to draw heads. In a way, what is the average thing? So for me, I guess a character kind of starts like this, and then I usually break things down. But I'm so used to drawing like this shape that it's kind of second nature to me. And if I have a character, I'll try to think of like that isn't this shape. I'll try and first I'll find what shape it is. So maybe it's maybe a character has like a head that's more long like this. So I'll kind of practice this. I'll first design them, then I'll kind of simplify them, and then I'll just practice drawing that simple shape. So like, okay, it's kind of like that, and then I'll look at it and I'll observe top is there, bottom is there. Okay, if this is a hat, roughly where is that? Okay, it's about that much. I don't really think of it as, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, divide it by 4. It's the first fourth or something like that. I just try to get used to this relationship, really. So it's like it's around there, and then the beak might go to there. It's like a bird character. Okay, so then I just get used to drawing that over and over again. And it's kind of like learning to write. Eventually, you get a handle of what this should be, like what this form is or what this shape is, just by doing it over and over again. So as you do that, you start to kind of come up with rules. And then, like for Kei, for instance, I know her eyes are like kind of in this area of her face, so that's what I get. And then her neck's like that. Her shoulders are pretty close to her neck, and then her torso's like that. I know her eyes are kind of slanted, so I draw these angles first. Like those aren't the eyes, they're just angles, placeholder angles. Then I draw these ovals. Then I know her nose is like really close to those, like there. Then her mouth is like there. Then her hairline comes around like that. And so that's like the rough shape. Maybe that's a bit hard to see. Maybe is that better? And then the eyes fit within this shape. Eyebrows are like here. And then eyes are here. She's got this like these tattoos on her cheek. And then her hair comes up. It kind of fits in this shape. And then it comes down like that. And then it goes in like that. And then she has like a collar. You get a shadow under her neck. And really it's just like, as I said, it's kind of like writing. You just learn the sentence, and you the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then you also learn variations, like based on characters that aren't like this. So for instance, what's the difference between Kei and Arsha. Well, Arsha's head is a lot more boxy. Her eyes are like all within this space. Her eyebrows go up. Her hair goes like that. She's got these three things, and then mouth like that. And she has like a big diamond hair thing. Get her ears, and this comes out. So by just doing them a bunch of times, you'll get it, and then you'll also learn. It's kind of, as I said before, it's like a language. You'll start to learn other sentences, how to change things. You learn your grammar, you learn all sorts of things with your shapes. But that's just mileage. Another helpful thing is to draw your character from a bunch of different angles. So let's say this is the front view, and I know what my character looks like from the front. All right, so let's say I've got a character and they look like this. Maybe they have big bushy eyebrows. And I think it's really important in a way, and helpful to be a little bit judgmental in a way, almost like you're describing someone, like, oh yeah, they had a really big nose and this and that, because it helps you to draw the character. Like if I said, well, they had a big chin, and just knowing, okay, so that's the character. And then what I can do is, if I'm happy with, let's say, the front view, I go and do the side view and get that in. So started with like a circle there. I can move all this there actually, and get the nose comes to about there. So I try not to get too anal about it, but you do want to be precise enough. Mouth is like there, and the ear is in this region. And it helps to have, a basic sense of proportions. Eyebrow goes there, and then the low point's there. And the chin turns there. And that's kind of how you do it. So let's say you had hair, and the hair came up to there. Okay, so what's that in the side view? What is this point? So that point's there. And maybe it comes up like that from the side. And then after you get all this, just doing it over and over again cements it in your mind. And then another good thing is to kind of make things sort of like on formulas where, if you make, let's say this, you have this circle, right? I had the mouth on that circle. Let's say I had the mouth a little bit below. That makes it a little bit harder to plot, where everything is, as opposed to if I know the mouth is, right there. Which, I mean, it doesn't have to be. If it's here, that's fine. It's just finding certain locations can really help, because you can use it for reference and then you can quickly draw it. And I think that's the beauty of it. You kind of want characters that are easy to draw, and that you can also draw very, like, not just quick, but also recognizable. So it doesn't take much. So if I wanted to draw Arsha, I can do like that, and I kind of get what she, like, where she is, even at a even super quickly. If I wanted to flesh that out, I can. But just for a storyboard, I can tell, okay, that's Arsha, like, big. Her arms come down like that. So, yeah, designing characters that can be made simple. Now, you may think that you don't want to have super simple characters. Like, maybe you're not after a super cartoony look. Maybe you're like, okay, no, I've got a character and my world is way more gritty and the characters are more realistic, I don't know. Let's just come up with something. All right. Well, the thing is that even if your style is more like that, like more detailed, more realistic, the character itself, like all the things I talked about, how you get used to drawing the same shapes and stuff, that all kind of applies. And so does the fact that the character is built off simplicity. So what I would say for this guy is he's kind of a box. He's like a box. He's got this sort of pointy chin, and then he's got this hair that's like coming out like that. So you could think of it like an M, a V with a flat bottom, and then his eyes are like from here to here. They're like here on the head, and then his nose is like there. His mouth sort of in between. Then he's got these like lines, and his eyebrows are kind of pointing down. His ears are in this area. And then this like rounds off. And that's kind of the character. And then, like, sure, you can add all the details later, but you still have a very general way of drawing them so that it's easy to draw them over and over again. And then, you can add the details, and then you still would do like a side view. What's that person like from the side? And the more you do it, the better you get. As I said, there's no like secret to skip mileage, I feel. Because if you try to do that and you're like, well, I don't have time to spend gaining mileage, what happens is, first of all, definitely don't make a comic, because you'll be drawing over and over again. And if you're looking for shortcuts, you kind of just get in your own way, because it's usually faster to have done it the slow way, the slow, hard way, than to use any kind of shortcut. So, yeah, but, you draw it over and over again, and then you get it, and then it gets fast, and then it's easy once it's fast. And one of the easiest ways to make characters just easier to draw is to really give them something that separates them that you can notice right away. Maybe this guy's. So maybe this guy's got like an eye patch, for instance. Just by putting this in, it now becomes so much easier to tell that it's this guy, you know, because it's just like, oh, it's the guy with an eye patch. I don't know how eye patches work, sorry. But having things like that, or, you know, he has like a bun. That's like his thing. He's got a bun. And then it's like, oh, you add it. And then it's very quickly that guy. Not a guy, it's that guy. You know, he has, see, screwed up here. This comes in front, so it goes left over right, and you tell yourself those types of things. And you kind of repeat it, and then you get better at it over time. You know, characteristics. Maybe he has a mole there. Mole there. So it's like eye patch, mole, bun. That's this guy. You know, he's a eye patch, mole, bun guy. So coming up with things like that. And then also, like, what is this bun? Well, it's basically a circle. You know, there's nothing fancy about it. The eye patch is a pretty, you know, easy to draw shape. I could, you know, maybe make it come from there. You know, maybe he has a gimmick. Like, the eye patch has a fake eye on it, and that's his thing. It's like, so long as you're, you know, maybe here it's looking, it's just got a mind of its own. Maybe he has like an eyeball on his eye patch, and it just does whatever. But the point is that it's adding the character to the character, right? Like, he's now interesting. As a person, as a character. So, yeah, that's another thing you can do to get the life and the character in them, and makes it super easy then, you know, even from far. If we do a boxy head, some ears sticking out, a little bun on the top, you can put a little, whoa, too big, little dot for the eye, maybe eye patch a little bit, and then this kind of body where it kind of goes down a V shape. Now we already know that's this guy, and doing that with the rest of his figure really, you know, just completes it. We don't know because we haven't designed him, but let's just say he's got this kind of thing going on. And maybe he has a sword. All right, well, now you've got like a guy, right? So it's easy to recognize them. And if the more you put these types of, like, you know, iconic things, like maybe he's got like a belt that comes up to there, and then maybe this part's actually white. Maybe it's like white pants or something. Like, okay, so now you have this relatively dark character with like light here and then dark again, and you can tell that person from very far away because it's just very defined. It's very easy. Okay. And then because you have one character, you can kind of make lots of characters from that one character in the same world, because what you do is you have a bunch of variation on that. So, if that guy's boxy, he's got his little bun. You could have someone who's much rounder that maybe has like triangles. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't really look like a character yet. And yeah, you're right. We can make it into a character. So let's say this one's like a girl. Maybe it's like the antagonist, and that guy had like an eye patch. Maybe she's got like a ninja mask thing. And then maybe these are like hair strands that kind of come out. I mean, they're triangles, but you don't have to make it like a perfect triangle. You can just, start with a triangle and then roughly fill it in. And then he had this kind of like, well, that's his head. So let's say head is there. Then he had that kind of down thing. Maybe this one has more of like an up thing. So maybe she's got like shoulder armor that comes up. Right? So that's what I mean by once you get one character down, you can get other characters based off that character by doing other things. If that guy's tall, maybe she's short. So then the more difference you build into it, the easier it is to get characters. And then when it's like, well, how do you know what the character looks like? Well, because they're very different. They're very different from one to another. So it's easy to contrast one against the other. So pretty much that's it. It's kind of the rules. So, use simple shapes, circles, squares, triangles. You can convert them into shapes that aren't necessarily those shapes, but still have those properties, like, oval, like a boxier form. Triangles can go this way. They could be sort of flared out at the bottom. There's lots of ways of like playing with these shapes, but using those is really effective. And thinking of them not just as flat shapes, but also as forms can help. And also doing your thing where you make the front view and the side view, and you get the landmarks down. But when you do this, for me personally anyway, I don't start like this. Like, I'll never think I'm going to design a character. Let me start by drawing a front view and a side view. I never do that. What I do is I always start with just drawing a character, trying to get a mood, trying to get the feeling, doing multiple versions. Maybe there's like a guy and I'm like, well, what do I want him to look like? So I get kind of the one view of this character. I might think, maybe this character, like, oh, I like how his face is hidden by that. Can I do anything else? And maybe I'll get a little more of this shape going. And it's like, okay, I'm kind of simplifying it, but also getting more decisive and confident with the choices. And then you start to, okay, can we take this and now, try to simplify it further and find, a good shape for this, a good proportion for this. Made everyone angry, so I'll make this guy a bit less angry. And if you have, as I said before, like a design language, like you keep drawing a certain way, and that's what you get from time. You just find how you like to draw by drawing a bunch of times and sort of allowing yourself to, find your way. And some of the best ways of figuring that out are actually not in being not trying to draw your way, but trying to study from someone else or trying to copy. At least I've heard that. It's not really what I use, but I have heard that this is also a way. So you try and copy, and then you see what you don't like doing. Because if you think about it, even if you could draw someone exactly, let's say you have a hero and an art hero, and you want to draw just like them. Well, if you could, chances are you wouldn't draw exactly what they draw. You would be maybe it would be the subject matter. It's I really wish I had the skill. I wish I could draw what that person did. And then if I had that, I would draw other stuff. Maybe they draw horses and you're I just want to draw cats. Okay, so your thing is already different. And then maybe it's I really like how they do everything, except I kind of would stretch out the figures more. And as you start doing that and you start tweaking your style, you kind of learn what that is. Maybe your thing is, I like stretched out figures. I like this and that. But generally, you come very similar to another artist, but by the time you're done your development process, you probably won't look just like a clone of that person. You'll look like yourself. So it's, it is a good idea to, study people you like, because you're not going to be exactly like them anyway. Even if you try to be, you're gonna become individual. That's all my advice for character consistency. I hope it helped, and thanks for watching.